the trails and the mountains, they don't just remind me of life, they don't just remind me that I'm alive, but they birth new life in me in ways that I never thought of. I am grateful that my life wasn't taken in that accident. So I'm almost done. I'm pretty sure I'm closing in on my last half mile. And I can tell that because everyone who's passed me going up looks pretty fresh. Like they haven't exerted themselves that much. So I'm gonna gauge my distance off of that. But anyway, I wanted to come on here and share a final thought before I get back to the parking lot. Something I've been thinking for the better part of the last mile. And that is how this hike, this first solo hike in over a year, but also this first solo hike since nearly dying, because that's pretty much what my car accident was. It was a near-death experience. I could have very easily lost my life. That reflection, that thought is how I feel like I've come back to life. There's just something about the mountains and the trail that I don't want to say make me feel alive, because that's cliche and that's not really articulating my thoughts. But the mountains and the trails remind me of life. You know, there's multiple ways I can define that, but it reminds me that I'm alive, and not just that, but there's so much more potential to my life. And it's not just about accomplishing a trail that might be difficult or a feat that at one time might not have been doable for me, but it reminds me, it shows me that I'm alive to do these things. It also shows me that not only can I do more than I thought I was capable, but I can do things I didn't think of to do, there's just so much more to do besides putting one foot in front of the other and climbing gain up to a lookout. You know, the mountains and the trails can be incorporated into many aspects of life. Aspects that I've never really thought of before. One example that I think of is I'm dying to get a motorcycle. I have my endorsement and I don't have the funds to go to fully fund and pay for a motorcycle. So I have not been able to get one yet. But what you can do with it is, you know, you can get adventure bikes and go up Forest Service roads to trailheads and go hiking that way. You can take them bike camping. You can do so much more with the mountains and the trail with a motorcycle than just racing them or just enjoying a Sunday drive to the next town over just to feel the fresh air blowing around your helmeted head. But you know, there are other things too, like I got into running, and it wasn't until I started following some other people who were running that I realized people ultra run. People run these trails. People cover 30-mile distances in a day. Like, people run the enchantments, and not just while on the trail, but preparing for the trail can get you in the gym and training and working out and help you develop more disciplines that you didn't think of to develop. And so the trails and the mountains, they don't just remind me of life. They don't just remind me that I'm alive, but they birth new life in me in ways that I never thought of. So I thank God every day that I'm alive. So, well, I should thank him every day that I'm alive, but I am grateful that my life wasn't taken in that accident. And when I think about all the ways my life could have gone, and the fact that I wound up faring better than anyone else, and that's not to say that, not to knock their injuries, but when I just think about all the ways I could have gone, and the fact that I'm still here, and 8.5 months later I am able to put one foot on front of the other on the trail and hike. Well, let's just say it's a miracle. I mean, it's a miracle that my best friend made it out alive, even though she still has a long road of recovery ahead of her. And the semi-truck driver made it out alive. I have no idea the status of his injuries, and I probably won't until long after the case is settled. And it's a miracle that the tow truck driver, the only one of the 4 of us involved who died, was a Christian and passed on from this life into eternity. But it's just a miracle all around, and that's what today is showing me, that I don't just have a life, have breath in my lungs and physical capability to my legs and my back to allow me to do this, but I have more opportunities ahead that I never thought about, and if I thought about, I never thought to grasp at. Opportunities that I never thought to pursue, proverbial trails that I never thought to chase. So the mountains and the trails, they mean life to me. This is my life, and I'm so thankful I get a chance to, I get another opportunity to live this life. So to the mountains I go.